Hello PIM people and welcome. I'm Rasmus, and in this video I want to talk about how to do an more advanced exporting of data. There is a basic video about exporting, go and look that up if you haven't. This will be a little more advanced of different possibilities you have when you export data. And I'm talking about exporting to Excel file because you all know it, I have mentioned it before, Excel rules the world. If Excel didn't exist, a lot of company will stop producing stuff, right? Okay, so I want to paint a picture for you first. So imagine you have customers or suppliers which are selling your product, but they're selling a ton of other products. They typically tend to have an Excel file or whatever template they want you to fill your product information into. And they don't want to integrate with your API or use the template that you have designed or whatever. They're just telling if you want to sell, or if we should sell the stuff you have, you should fill it into this template. Imagine they have a Struct PIM system in their end and they have designed their product structure in a certain way. They have a specific template to import this information. So I have experienced that in my previous jobs, that all companies were sending different templates and that we should fill out with these product information, and their columns were called something different than in our system. Of course, we had the information, but the SKU number was called internal product number, something like that in their system. And they have a specific Excel template that we have to fill out. And Struct PIM have addressed that with something called file mappings. This is, again, a nice way to get around all of this. And this is something that you as administrator can build into Struct PIM, and then you can let your users, your salespeople, or whoever in the system who need to export this information, use these templates. So they just have to mark the products or variants of products they want to send or share with a customer, for example. So let's dive into it. So let's say, not the global list, but the product catalog here. Let's say I have, whatever, we will take the tiles here. I know the tiles have a product here, which have a lot of variants underneath it, right? So let's say that I want to export all of these variants and add it into a specific template. So I want to show a few small tricks which not necessarily have anything to do with exporting information, but it's just some nice tricks that you might find useful. You have probably seen some of these tricks in other videos, but I want to highlight them again. So, so these variants have inherited all the properties from the product, but you might not necessarily see these information on the variant page here. So I'm on the product page now, and I have a lot of information available. For example, what the brand is, something like that. But if I go into the variants, it's not there. And you only see the variant definition, which is color, width, and length that define this variant. Technical specification, you see images, which you have this mark here saying this is inherited from the product itself. So you only have to add the image to the product and then all variants inherited. Makes sense. I think you get that point. But let's say that I want that I both want the brand name to be visible here, but I also want it so I can search while I'm at the product. So right now I'm looking at the variant, and you have the navigation pane down here. Let's see if we can see it. All the way down here. That's your navigation pane, right? So there are a few small tips and tricks down here. So this one is the variant I'm looking at right now. And if you go one step back, you can click that one. That'll be the product, right? I'll go back to the product. So again, if I click into that variant, then you'll see that line down here. And you can also click this one. This will link and navigate to that exact variant in your category structure on your left side. Just a few neat things to be aware of, because if you just want to go back to the product, that's an easy one. Okay, imagine I want to search here on the brand. So I want to add a column saying brand, but it's missing. Because remember, brand was only attached to the product itself. So if you're doing an export, you will be able to find the brand, but not in that search here. So if, let's say I'm doing like this, and then I do a export, yeah, you will see that I have the brand here, which is marked product afterwards. So this means that this is what is inherited from the product. So the Struct PIM system is well aware that this object or this attribute exists on the product, so you can easily get it out if you want to share it, but I can't see it in the list here if I want to search it. So in this case, I'll go to the data model or the product structure for non-food, which is the one we're looking at right now. We're looking at the variant model, and I want to add it here to the basic information, right? So I'll just add an attribute. I'll go quickly through all this because there are other videos explaining this in details, how to build your product structure and create attributes, stuff like this. So I imagine you already are well aware of that here. So that will be the brand I want to add here. And I want to inherit that from the product, and I want to make it read-only so no one can change it. It should not be possible to change that on each individual variant, but only on the product itself. Submit that one, save these changes. Okay, so now that is added, and I want to go back to my search here, and I want to add it to that search area now. So let's find brand. See, now it's suddenly there. I want to drag and drop it to this location. Okay, and then it shows up. So this is just a nice way to get it in there. There is another option. So if you don't want to, so if I click that variant right now, you'll see that this one is gone in here. Let's say I want to be able to search the name, but I don't necessarily want it to be visible here. There's a nice feature, another nice feature in Struct PIM to do that. So as you can see, if I'm searching name, there are not the name of the product, just name of a lot of other stuff that is registered on that variant. So I want to go into settings and systems, and you have this attribute indexing here. Here you have different options of making attributes indexed and available to search across product and variant and products. I hope it'll make sense when you see it. So I'll find the one saying I want a product attributes to be searchable on a variant. So this specific one here. And I want the name in English in that case to be visible when I'm searching for variants. And why haven't they done that default for all the different attributes? You can just imagine how many attributes that will be. Of course, it will be a nightmare to search through them, but it will also be a hell of a lot of work for the indexing engine, both through the MS SQL database underneath, but also the Elasticsearch layer they have introduced in between. So now you take a conscious decision about which one you want to be able to search through the different areas. As you can see, you can do that on a lot of things in here. Okay, so let's go back here again. And if I go into this one, the name is still not visible here, but now I can add it to the search. So if I click columns here and click name, the English version from the product, then you'll see that out here. So this is two nice ways to get columns visible in that view of a variant where you have some of these fields available only from your products. Okay, this was not really a lot about exporting, but this was some nice features that I think is useful when you're doing these advanced exports. Okay, before exporting anything, I want to import that template I talked about in the beginning. So I have created this beautiful template here saying this is the coolest company in the world that I want to sell my stuff through, and they have sent me this Excel file. I bet it looks familiar to you if you're looking at this video right now. They decide they have something called product number, product name, whatever, and it should go back in that format. They also have a column here called internal company ID, which I should not fill anything into. This is what they need to enrich in their system before importing that into their PIM system. So there are some columns that I should fill out. There are some columns that I shouldn't touch anyway. So I'll just drag this template to a window you can't see right now, and then we'll go to this file mappings. So as you can see, I have just created one for the demo purpose in here. I'll delete that one, so we'll create it from scratch. So I want to create a new demo export. Let's call it a template. Demo template. In this one, there will be variants. And I can make it available to a specific group of users. And if I don't fill in anything here, it will just be available to everybody. Makes sense in most companies just never to fill that one out. I can use this use fallback language. I mentioned that in the basic export. So this is just a feature of if you haven't filled in the Danish translation or whatever, and you ask it to export Danish columns into this one, then it will, if they are empty, they will just take the default language, which in this case have been selected to English. So this is again a pretty neat one. And then you have this field mappings. So I have these fields. I have one called product number. In my system, this is the SKU number. Next one was the product name. In my situation, this was just called name, and I want the English version of that. Description. I know, in fact, they want the short description in English, and they want the desktop version, or at least this is what I want to provide from them. Provide to them, and this comes from the product. Even though I have selected that it's only variants I want to export into this one, it can look up what value are on the product, as you can see on the name as well. Okay, internal company code. So that's a gotcha here. It have to go in here, but you just don't want to fill anything in this one. Click the next one, and then the brand name. And I will take the brand name of it here. Okay. They have something called the first image. In our case, it's the primary image, and I want the URL to be added in there. Additional image URL, I have a field called. That's our extra image URL. I think you're getting the point now. Just have 2 columns more, and I'll show you later on why it's important for me to add them. Length, right here, length.length, and in centimeters, and the width in centimeters as well. Here. Okay, and now comes the clever part of it. So there is these Excel templates down here. So enable custom templates. And that means I can go and I just have to close that template. I can select that template here. That was the one you saw before. Sent from imaginary, idea of a customer I just had, right? I want to go into the first sheet. So if you have multiple sheets, you can tell here which information going into what sheet, but I wanted to go into the first sheet. And as you saw, I'll just quickly open it again so everybody is aligned here. As you saw, as you saw here, it can only goes into, or it will start going into row 3 in the file. So start row will be 3. Save that one. So now that Excel file is uploaded into Struct PIM and is stored in there with all this information that I have created right now. So if I go back here and select all of these variants, select all of them, do a export, and now I want to use this template-based export. So I just want to highlight this one as well. It's quite obvious, but this means that if you are exporting a ton of information, it can take some time to export it. And then if you do export in the background, it will just put a background task into this area over here. And whenever it's finished, you can go back there and get the file. But in this case, it's just so few, so I'll just keep the information getting to me right away. So now I'll get these templates as you saw in there. Demo template, download, and that's it. So imagine you were a salesperson who want to share all of this information, with some of your customers. You don't necessarily have to know their template or how everything is mapped and what is called in their system and in our system and stuff like that, because someone have already taken that decision while they were creating these file mappings. So if I look at that downloaded file now, it will be here in a second. Here you are. As you can see, everything went in here, right? With images. Unfortunately, these doesn't have any extra additional images, but you have the URL for the images here. You have all the names, the descriptions, name for the product. All of them is very equal, but our SKU numbers here is different. And that also goes for the length and width. And imagine this was that was the reason why I added these links here. I want to show you that now the complete Struct PIM system is set up, as you can see down here in setup. It's set up to use default culture as United States English. So this means I will get a dot as a separator, decimal separator here. But if I want to share that, let's say with a Danish customer or whatever, who using comma as the separator for decimals, then again in the file mappings you can do clever stuff here. First of all, I can enable this use fallback language. We talked about that earlier. But I can do this transformation on these fields. And transformation, you will get different options depending on what data type this is on your attribute. So in this case, it knows it's a number. So I can do transformation, and then I can start manipulating with these numbers. I can calculate something if that is needed, or I can use a specific culture. This is pretty neat. So I can tell you that this customer always wants to get it in the Danish culture. Update this information. I'll do the same with the next one, specific culture. So this is not about translation, but this is just a culture information about how dates are shown, how the decimal separator are shown, stuff like that, which might differ. But again, Struct PIM knows about this, so it can output it in the correct format. Save that one. I will go back here again, select all of them. Imagine again, now I'm the salesperson. I just want to share that information with whatever customer I have. Use this template. And I was told to use this one, download. It will give me a new file, which I will show you here. Just hang on a second. Here it is. And now you'll suddenly see that separator is a comma instead of a dot. Clever thing about these file mappings and doing these transformations. So again, you can see you can do all sorts of transformation in here on different fields. So this is a text field, then you can do different things here if you want to replace something with whatever. Your imagination is the boundary here, right? Find a specific pattern you want to replace with whatever value when they're doing an export. So this is pretty neat in my opinion, and we used it a lot in the companies I have worked with. So that was about file exporting and more advanced stuff about using these templates to do exports. I hope that made sense, and I hope you like this small few tips and tricks I added in there. If you did, throw a like or subscribe at me. I'll appreciate that. If not, no biggie at all. Reach out to have a demo of Struct PIM. Me and the rest of the Struct PIM partners out there will love to show you how cool the system is. So except from that, have a good one and thank you for watching.